Welcome to the first episode of the Seamless Shopping Without Shrink show. My name is Harmen, and in this series we will uncover the secrets of how retailers can offer seamless shopping experiences but without the shrink. And my first guest of today is Jeroen Struycken, General Manager at Nedap for Nedap Sense. Welcome.
Thank you.
First episode. Exciting.
For me as well.
For you as well. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi. My name is Jeroen Struycken. I'm with Nedap now for about 20 years, a little over 20 years. Always been working in the retail industry. And for people that don't know, Nedap is a technology company, and specifically in retail, we provide retailers with technology and solutions for loss prevention and checkout. And we've been doing that since the 70s, so for a very long time. I'm not with the company that long, but I know a lot of the history and how we developed as a company within this industry, which is super dynamic. That's I think the reason for me to be in this company and industry is because it's so dynamic. I remember when I came in, we were doing analog modem connections to systems to capture data and create value for retailers out of the data that we captured out of loss prevention systems, customer accounting solutions, point of sale solutions. So that's like really going back in time. And over the years, I've developed myself into business development roles, really helping retailers adopt new technologies, introducing technologies into new markets, sales management, and I'm very happy to say that for the last 7-8 months, I'm now General Manager for Nedap Sense. And essentially Nedap Sense is, I think, really going to deliver to the vision that you just shared is the name of this podcast. So we'll talk about that a lot more, I guess, in the rest of the conversation. And for me, that is really what I stand for. I firmly believe that there is a need out there for retailers to look at better consumer experience, to look at a way to bridge the experience that you have in an online shopping world in a store. And this is where technology plays a very fundamental role. But I think today we're not going to mainly talk about technology, because for me, technology is an enabler, right? We are really good in detection technology. So RFID, RF at the exit, at the point of sale, but also for inventory purposes. But that's just technology, and there's many companies out there that will do the same thing. But I think that what's needed today is a step up from that. It's not about the technology anymore. It's really solving relevant business problems within retail. Yeah. And they're always there. Like I said, the dynamics of retail are so big. There's always a relevant problem to solve.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, technology is a means to an end, right? And you talked about your being 20 years into retail. How did you see retail evolve? Like, what are the key moments there?
Yeah, that's a good question. Of course, I gave it some thought because going back in time 20 years, you don't do instantly for some reason. Maybe my head is slow in that sense, but 20 years is a long time ago. Yeah. I think that when I joined, also we as a company, we were European, not really global. And I think that retailers went much more global, especially the bigger brands, vertically integrated retailers really went global with their store fleet. And let's say 20 years ago, the way to grow was to open more stores. And if a country was full, between brackets, you could not capture more volume, you just open the next country, the next geographical area, the next continent. I think that by now we've seen that that's grown really to a point where you say, okay, it's not the lever to pull anymore to really grow. Even though if you're in between, there's a lot to win if you're able to open more stores in the Asian Pacific region, if you're a European or US retailer. But it's now also leveraging the omnichannel world, right? And I think it existed already a long time ago, but it really was a separate segment. And I don't need to explain the audience how and why that is, but nowadays it is really about making that omnichannel service available from the store. And I think that was non-existent 20 years ago. That you went to a store, you hoped the product was there that you wanted to buy, or you just found what you liked and you bought it. Now it's much more an educated consumer coming to the store looking for a specific product or set of products or garments, and then expects it to be there. And that you cannot promote in the store what people need to buy, and people come to your store what they want to buy. I think that's the big change.
Yeah. Hey, and the title of the show is called Seamless Shopping Without Shrink. And it's also the vision, as you explained, of Nedap Sense. What does that mean to you? And you talked about that omni-channel vision. I think that's part of it. But can you explain what that vision means to you?
Yeah, it's a vision, right? Seamless shopping without shrink. I always in my head almost make it into a promise, right? Because I really feel passionate about it. But
it's also really ambitious, right? I mean, without shrink, I mean...
Yeah, let's maybe dissect it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So seamless shopping, what is that? Without shrink is a very relevant aspect to it. But seamless shopping to me means that I walk into my local supermarket, my local drugstore, the apparel fashion store that I like, or the sports equipment store that I like, and I'm usually there to pick up something that I know what I want to have. And all these stores, if they're doing well, they're busy because I come in after work, it's peak hour, it's busy. So you want to pick up the product you want to pay and leave. And everything that's an obstacle in between, standing in a queue, or not, it starts with not finding your product. That's the worst experience you can have. And that can be anything. It's in a supermarket just as bad as you're going into your local sports store. You want some sports nutrition, it's not there. It's not nice because you're going to work out tonight and you wanted to have that sports nutrition. That's a bad experience. So already getting the product there, assuming that it's there, then it's into, right, I want to grab the product, walk to a convenient payment station, scan product if I have to. If I've already done that on my app or on my device, I just pay and leave. And everything that sits in between, every question I get asked, every pop-up, every moment I need staff, I need to stand in the queue, I need to scan a loyalty card, select the payment, everything is a seam. It doesn't make it smooth. And you already see that out there, some people are getting it almost right. I dare to say that nobody's got it really nailed. But I think it's a necessity because I'm now talking as a consumer, and I recognize that most people are like that. Of course, you've got older people that like to stand in the queue because they want to have a conversation with the cashier. That's fine. That's also a service.
That's seamless for them, right? That's what they want.
Well, they look for that moment, maybe even there for that moment on its own.
Yeah.
But for me, the rest of my family and friends and people that I interact with are very much about, no, we got a busy life. We just want to grab and go. And I think that's where seamless shopping experiences come in. And online, there's some of that, but also there, it's not super seamless yet, right? No. How often do you type in your delivery address, your delivery means, your payment method? It's endless. I mean, I can find the product and click it, and then the seams start to happen. So also there's something to solve. But I feel that the same need is there in physical stores, and I think you also see that in studies like some Gartner studies I recently read. You see that quite high up there in the quadrant for the must-haves for retailers is a self-checkout solution or something, automated checkout, simplified checkout solution. So it's very logical that this is in today's consumer behavior the case. And on top of that, labor scarcity, right? It's not easy to get your store with the right amount of people staffed at the moment. Visitor speak. It's hard and also expensive. So automation is a solution, and I guess that what we're talking about, more seamless and faster checkout solutions, are a component there. And then of course the without shrink component.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, what is the relationship between seamless shopping and shrink management according to you? They
are linked because but because that's more to do with the typology of people that you get into a store. I mean, I remember this is really going back 20 years. Is my first induction into that was then called loss prevention industry, was really talking to a store manager that explained to me what happens in the store and how do you combat shrink with very simple means, right? And essentially it's all about, you've got honest customers. Don't need to do a dot for that. The only thing is you need to don't give them opportunity. It's all about opportunity makes the thief. And then you've got this people that come in with the intent to steal. That's a different breed. You need to do different things for that. But what we're seeing is if we're introducing more and more seamless shopping, so self-checkout solutions, scan and go kind of solutions, you will get more opportunistic thieves because you've got an excuse. Now, a very simple excuse, I forgot to scan the product. No intent to steal clear yet, but I just forgot to scan that product in my basket.
Yeah.
And you leave, and most of the time nothing happens, and that's not good. So keeping honest people honest is part of what the without shrink means, and that you will suffer shrink in a store is. Well, I hope we can get rid of that at some stage, but that's going to be a bigger leap forward. Keeping shrink under control, I think that's the most important thing in this space.
Exactly.
That's.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the building blocks of a seamless shopping journey is you said things like product availability, easy checkouts. What are the blockers for retailers if they, when they start working on their seamless shopping experience?
Yeah, I think we see a few blockers, hurdles, or internal struggles within retail. And I talk about physical retail today, right? I mean, one of them is people availability of staff, right? Scarcity of labor, cost of labor has gone up. Getting people loyal to your work environment and fully educated, that's hard, right? People rotate rapidly. If you get another job for a couple of bucks more, then they're gonna leave, right? So you constantly have new people coming into the store that you need to educate. The landscape they work with is pretty complex. Some of them maybe have 20 different apps that they work on as a worker. And that's hard to educate. So keeping it simple for store employees to do things, I think is a must-have. On the other side, it's the economics are still that inflation is there. Products are expensive. People feel that they're expensive. So it's opportunistic thieving and organized crime is there.
I've read also reports that like people feel entitled that they can steal, right? Because it's expensive for me, but I mean for the company it's just a couple of products that they're missing. I mean, what's the problem? But I mean on a bigger scale, it's a big problem for retailers.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I've spoken to a number of recent shows again, or supermarkets that say, okay, we're self-checkout is a must-have. We can't go back. Some of them try to go back, but it's not really realistic. We as a consumer demand it. There's no option. And you need it because you don't have enough people to man the tills at every moment in time. So you need a service like that. And that shrink indeed is hard to control. So what else is there for seamless shopping as hurdles? That was the conversation, right? So I think it's also the fact that shrink is there and shrink has changed. I mean, the fact that organized retail crime, as it's called internationally, people coming in with the intent to steal in bulk, right? They empty a shelf of products for resale. They come in on purpose to steal valuable items of you. That's a harsh change in how shrink is happening, and it's omnipresent now. It's not something that happens occasionally in some areas.
Do you see loss prevention and shrink management? Do you see retailers value that? Because I work now 5 years at Nino, so not 20 years as you, so not that long a time. But I see the shift when I first started versus now, where there's much more openness and much more talk also in the media about, hey, we have a theft problem, we have a shrink problem. Do you see also that mindset change at retailers?
I think that today, well, I know today, shrink is a board level topic. Yeah. It's impactful. It's impacting bottom lines of retailers. If you look at supermarkets, you pay more for your product because shrink is high, and so actually as a consumer we pay more. So it's kind of it's a problem that's only growing in this way. So yes, it's super relevant, but also retailers are thus shy in adding more convenient ways of paying and leaving a store, and putting less hurdles in for you to leave the store. So these are different stakeholders within retailers.
Yeah.
On the one hand, there's a need and a desire, and the other one is hesitation. And how do you overcome that is the dance that most retailers are in today. And that's what we also feel as a company, right? That how do we help retailers overcome these hurdles or the hesitations? Because essentially, it's all doable. That's the interesting thing, right? It is doable. There's examples out there where it works really well.
Yeah, cool. Well, so that's actually a very good question. So let's dive deeper into that dance, into that balance between that seamless shopping and that loss prevention bit. How can retailers still offer those seamless shopping experience where they have product availability, where they have easy checkouts, while still keeping shrinkage, theft under control?
I think it's also leveraging modern technology, right? I mean, if you know that in the old days, between brackets, everything was done locally in a store. You had a video storage solution there, and the store manager would look back at theft events and, if possible, bring that to the prosecution to police or such. It's undoable nowadays. But hey, there's technology out there that can help you a lot. You don't need to do everything locally anymore. Hey, we live in a modern world. Everything is cloud-based and can be connected. So I think it's connecting many of the solutions that you already have today as a retailer. And I think that's where we are traditionally known for is our exit gates, our loss prevention solution. Yeah. You leave the store and it says beep if the tag hasn't been removed or the tag hasn't been deactivated. That technology is deemed to be old hat sometimes by some retailers. Yeah. Because it's been around there since the 70s, like I said. But it's very efficient still if you are connecting that to your camera system. If you're connecting that camera system again to a platform that does that centrally, to a platform that captures even more data points and actually filters out the relevant events. And if you have a team that's able to then look at these events and actually tweak your loss prevention measures towards what is happening in the store today, and not essentially what, in my view, still happens a lot. We twice a year do an inventory of the store. We experience then the theft that has happened, and we then look at how we should combat that. And I think you can do it almost as it happens. And I know you can do it, but you need to ready yourself for that. You need to embrace the possibilities that technology already is giving you. And yes, you probably need to do some investments there, but a lot of it can be reused. And I think that's the most successful retailers that we're privileged to work with are doing that. They are leveraging what's already there and connecting the dots and creating a very dynamic loss prevention strategy based on what's happening in the stores.
Yeah, and do you see? Yeah, you talked about technology and about technology as a means to an end. Of course, there's a lot of talk about RFID technology. Does that work for loss prevention in every retail sector?
If you would have asked me a couple of years back, I would have said, no. You see that adoption of RFID technology for inventory management is mainly happening in apparel, fashion, and sports stores and brands. However, the good thing is that there's a lot of innovation happening in that space, and the people that provide and make the labels that you program, put on products, have also been able to get good performing products on liquids, on metal, and they're a little bit more expensive. So the business case needs to be really thoroughly looked at, but it's possible, and it just wasn't the case before. Yeah. So this technology is progressing. So today, usage in inventory management for apparel is like it's a no-brainer. Yeah. If you're not in that space yet today, you will be soon. It's more of a question: is my backend IT system ready to consume real-time data or not? That's more the question. So it's more to do with legacy IT infrastructure that's preventing retailers from adopting. But we already see adoption happening in selected cases in supermarkets for fresh food, track and trace, but also for loss prevention purposes. And people that do that with a very clear vision and business case. It's not about an experiment. It's really making sure that fresh product is available and sold at the date that it should be sold, and make sure that you don't have food waste, And at the same time, it's also used for that consumer experience part. If you want to have a good loss prevention solution, knowing 100% certain that a product is sold, and knowing 100% certain which product wasn't sold, can create a much better user experience when actually going after thieves or people with the intent to steal.
Yeah. Hey, you also mentioned ORC, organized retail crime, which is a different type of theft than, of course, the opportunistic consumer that steals, expensive pack of baby powder, for example, or coffee, or like the typical stuff. What is the role of EES, of electronic articles, those access readers? What's the role of those systems when it comes to ORC attacks?
Yeah, I think that's multifold. It's a little bit going further from what I just said, but just maybe for the audience, exit gates, right? Traditionally, people know them as the antennas.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
that they beep, right?
Yeah, they beep, and people, they walk out with their trolleys full of stuff, and they keep the alarms beeping, and no one's going to stop them. So, what's the point? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the traditional technology still has a space because, like I said, if you're able to use that alarm as a trigger, a camera trigger, and nowadays those cameras become smarter. Most retailers are looking at how can I use AI camera system, so you see it's a push out, and you call people walking out with a full trolley of product a push out. The camera can identify, hey, a full trolley is leaving. If you then marry that with an ES event, hey, you've got a potential push out event, and then all of a sudden that event becomes relevant to further investigate. And I think that's the way I see the people that are ahead of what needs to happen already using technologies. And I think the great thing is that it's, at least with our technology, already there today, right? You can do this today. It's out of the box functionality. If you then bring that to the let's say the newer technology with RFID, where you uniquely identify the product that is leaving the store, you can see the alarm may go or may not go off if you leave the store, but the readers at the exit actually observe that there's 6 expensive bottles of wine leaving. And you know exactly which bottles of wine that were, that they didn't go past the point of sale because there they would have been registered as well. And then you're able to maybe even backtrack that card even to the point of where people actually prepared their bag maybe to steal those 6 bottles. And then you also have a value. You know how much they stole. And in some countries, then if you reach a certain threshold, then you can prosecute. And there's automation tools in place there even to help people, make it easier for companies to prosecute people that do these kind of, steal that much of a store. And if you're even more smarter, and that's also allowed in some countries, you can combine various events. Somebody steals in one store, camera recognize the person, depending on the privacy rules of your country, you can always marry that with another event where the same person saw something else, and the 2 events together go over the threshold, and you can prosecute again. And that's I'll pass it over to the police for prosecution. And that's very powerful. And we see that's happening a lot now. That loss prevention technology gets used much smarter than it was before.
So it's not just about the alarm. It's not about preventing theft in the here and now. When it comes to RC attacks, there's much more about what happens next, and use that data to prevent other attacks.
100%, because it's I think most companies, or I think all companies, all retailers have policies. You do not go after thieves, and especially in organized crime moments, you will. It's dangerous. So people, you can't do that. No way that people will allow their store staff to go after those kind of events. So you need to act after the event. You need to be able to rapidly inform neighboring stores, the stores your stores in the area that this gang is active. Who is in this gang, so you can help them stop continuing performing these kind of theft events.
Hey, one other thing that I want to talk about is a loss prevention measure that is being used a lot, the hard tag. It's been a while. Well, maybe also around since the 70s. And it's, I think, a valued ally of the loss prevention manager, but increasingly it has a harder time, I think, within retail because it obstructs also a lot of things. The seamless shopping experience that you talked about. What's your take on that?
Well, the first thing that comes in my head is a little bit of history, right? Again, from the 70s, not my direct history. I was born in that era, but it's the tags at the time, what we call hard tag, the plastic satellites sitting on garments in stores, they were the size of your hand. It was crazy, right? But at that time, that was deemed acceptable, right? Because it was a countermeasure to theft. And the public also accepted that. I think that if you put that on garments today, well, you would damage your brand experience for certain. You'd be like, what is happening here? So you see those tags are really shrunk. The technology has become much more elegant. But what do you experience? If you go shopping and you find something nice in a store that has a hard tag on it, what does it do with you?
Oh man, there was one time where I wanted to buy a jeans, and I couldn't fit in because there was a plastic hard tag attached in a weird way. So it was a really negative experience. And then I needed to ask someone at the counter to already detach the hard tag because it wasn't my size. And then I had to ask if they had the same size in the back. I mean, it was not seamless at all. And you've got the self-checkout experience with hard tags. Since working here at retail, I'm a little bit more experienced with detaching hard tags. But I mean, it's not the most pleasant experience that you want to give to your shoppers, I imagine. But I also understand the reaction like, okay, well, what if I remove my hard tags, especially in fashion, and when fashion retailers want to offer self-checkouts, and I don't want to have shoppers detach the hard tags themselves. What will happen to my shrink? And I think that's a really genuine, it's a good question to ask. I think we all agree that, it causes friction, sometimes necessary friction, but I think that balance already shifted to might be unnecessary friction. But I'm really curious about how you see it.
I think the plastic hard tag, of course, is loss prevention managers. I won't say number one, but a very important tool in his or her toolbox. Because what does it do exactly? Well, it makes it very transparent that there is a security means in place, and you're being watched if you don't pay for this item, because the tag will be removed at point of sale only. It's hard to remove on your own. I don't know. I'm sure you come home and somebody thinks sit on your product and you try to get it off. Yeah. You are going to damage the product. You need to have the proper tools to do that. So it's a good deterrent, I would say. It also works well, right? The alarm will definitely sound if you leave with such a device on. If the exit reader is working, that's also a very important aspect to consider here. But so will the tag? I mean, there's in an ideal frictionless shopping experience, you don't have the hard tag because the hard tag actually is a hurdle. Somebody will need to take it off for you, like you said. Doing it yourself, it's not easy. Plus, it's also a little bit strange. I'm taking the security device off myself. That's a very bad signal, I find. That it should be kind of this magic device you need to detach it for people to say, okay, no, it's logical that it happens at the main console.
And it has a sharp needle. I mean, I haven't read stories about people injuring themselves, but I mean, it's totally possible.
You see, of course, a transition. There is people that when we call source tagging, right? There's paper labels. It's essentially same technology, but in a paper thin version, you can stick on a product or make part of the packaging. It does the same thing. It gets deactivated, so it no longer functions once it passed a reader or scanner with embedded technologies. And that's already a nice step up. You see people usually balancing the two. We do part of it with source tagging, some with hard tagging. Sometimes do with price points, sometimes to be able to say, hey, we didn't expect this product to be so hot, being stolen, so we want to have something to protect it with. We couldn't put hard tags on there. I think that's still a very valid way to do it. However, it's going to break the seamless shopping experience. So you want to minimize that or work around that. If we then shift a little bit further, right, and again, this works in most segments of retail. We go to the apparel fashion again, where RFID technology is more happening, and you see that also still there. Maybe the hard tech has a place, but it's an RFID hard tech. But their source tagging is standard, right? If you want to do an RFID implementation, you're going to do all your products. Maybe not your bottles of water that you sell on the side at the counter, but all your garments, accessories, you're going to have an RFID label on. Why would you not use that RFID label for theft prevention? And then you get into this debate. Technically speaking, that works already today. But the stakeholders within the company that are responsible for will say, yeah, but it's very easy to rip it off or hide it or do things that it doesn't work. Shield it. So that's where this debate comes in. So we can't do without the hard tech. I think there's good examples out there of some of the big fashion brands that are saying, hey, we're going to better attach that RFID label to the product. Going to make it part of the care label. Going to make it part of the neck label. Going to weave it into the product so you can't see it anymore. And then I believe the hard tech is not necessary anymore, because it's going to be you're going to really damage your product if you want to get rid of that tag. Then it's hard to find. And that's I think a very adequate means to replace the security of which is normally done with a hard tag. And then still, you may want to protect some product with a hard tag. But very balancing out the consumer experience and the seamless shopping experience against the shrink. But the nice thing is, if you have RFID technology in-house, you know what's leaving the store unpaid for. And you know which store is hot. So which store is having high shrink now, not after a half-year count, but now. Which products are hot? And there's also other means to better protect the products that are hot. You can put them closer to the checkout area where more staff is available. You can change your guarding hours so that you know when products are stolen most, so that you are you're better equipped to combat that. I think that there's a lot that already possible. Hard tech to go fully away. Yes, there's a future with hard techs, 100%. Is it today? Unlikely. It's a transition path, and that's also very feasible.
Yeah, great. Cool. So we talked about seamless shopping. I think the building blocks of seamless shopping is product availability. I think using your stores for the brand experience, right? And offer those fast checkouts that your customer wants. You know, if that's a scan and go or self checkout or just a manned cashier. You know,
mobile checkouts.
Yeah. And you want to make that seamless shopping journey as smooth as possible. And there's some frictions in there with staff shortages, but also those loss prevention measures. And there's still a role of EES to play. Where it goes beyond the beep and where, it's not just about the alarm anymore, about integrating those systems within your retail store.
Yeah, but it actually also works, right? I mean, one of my favorite stores, and I know that we've talked about it before, but one of my favorite stores, I come in there every week. It's a local drugstore chain. And they really have, so they use the paper labels, they do some form of source tagging, some in-store labeling, some DC labeling, and they have self-checkout kiosks. And I love them because there's always a queue at the counter and it goes fast at the self-checkout. So I will always go to the self-checkout. And it's scan, swipe my card, decline the loyalty card, pay and leave.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic because I never sound the alarm. And I know the systems work because they're ours. So I know they work. So and I'm always super thrilled when I've done that again. Yeah. And it's just like this is how it should be. And why is not everybody else adopting that? There's little reason not to.
Yeah. So what would you say to retailers that are hearing this? And I think every retailer feels this balance between offering seamless checkouts and shrinkage. And what would you say to them on how to start that process today?
Yeah, I think it's listen to your consumer, right? It's first of all, I'm pretty certain that it's always going to be, are you going to go 100% self-checkout? Well, we know the big sports chain from France that does that. It's very hard to find somebody on a man till, even though that sometimes if you want to buy a bicycle, you will need to find somebody. And that works. They have that, so that's not a problem. I think Uniqlo from Japan also very strong at pushing very strongly self-checkout, and some of their peers are following them. There, the audience has no choice. You go to a self-checkout solution.
Yeah, and they expect it, and they go to those stores because they know they're gonna have that checkout experience.
Yeah, and it's good. But I think if you get some elderly audience, and I think that also the demographics in the world are changing. Many retailers are conscious that the older population is a very big portion of potential customers, and they probably want a different checkout experience. So you need to really balance that. But there is a significant younger generation, and I'm not young, but in that sense I feel part of that younger generation. That's just I don't want to go into a store that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So I think that you need to listen to that, and you need to start. And how does it start? It probably starts with hacking, between brackets, your first self-checkout solution into your demo store in your head office. Because you need to get more ambassadors on board, because there's going to be many stakeholders in this space. You're touching a core system of retail, right? You're touching the point of sale environment. There's going to be many people that say, no, it can't do that. But you need to people need to go over the fear of all the problems that it may create. They need to see the opportunity that lies beyond. So get your first store equipped. After you've done your first pilot, you're going to get lots of learnings. After that first proof of concept device, you're going to go into a pilot store. You're going to make it nice. You're going to go to a furniture manufacturer that built a purpose-built device, furniture for you, so that your checkout experience belongs to the store. Because if you don't do that, you put just a kiosk there, that's run of the mill. Yeah, that doesn't work for your brand. You're going to have a lot of opposition. So I think it's teaming up with your point of sale vendor, teaming up with a good furniture vendor, teaming up with a good technology partner. And the technology partner is Nedap Sense in this case. So we'll pitch that in a little bit, I'm certain. Is not only about providing like reader technology and labels and software. No, it's really also the expertise. Because for every retailer that starts on the journey, it's the first time they do it. They've never done it before. They haven't got the experience. And we've done it many times before. We've got the experience from others. We can help you not find out reinvent the wheel constantly, right? That's not necessary, because it's not also about connecting all the technologies. And forgive me for saying, but that big fashion sports chain from France that does a lot of self-checkout, I love the fact that they're doing it. I don't like the way it looks and feels. No. It's a bolt-on setup. And I think if you look at newer versions and the ones that we are working on and working with, they're much slicker, much smoother, much more
on brand, which is this is the core of fashion retail.
Yeah.
Right?
So you see that's today is very well possible. So we bring in that expertise. So have an experienced solution provider in you that know how this works. That's not there to provide bits and bobs and bolts, but also the knowledge and expertise. Going to be working with you and the point of sale vendor and the furniture vendor to deliver the whole product. Yeah. I think that's a very important step. The studio is falling apart.
Hey, and what would you say to the people that are worried about shrink rising when they introduce these self-checkouts? Yeah, what would your advice be?
Well, that's maybe continuing on to my my advice just now. It's first of all, how will it work in your world? Because intriguingly enough, not every store will have the same shrink issue. There's stores where actually nothing really happens, strangely enough. Or not. And why is that strange? Because you didn't know. But especially if we go into the RFID side of the business, it becomes super easy to track what really happens with shrink. And that's also what we as a solution provider are delivering to make the product whole, the whole solution, is also monitoring shrink and give you the tools to first of all convince your own stakeholders internally by saying it's okay. We have other tools now to control the shrink. We know what to do. We've thought about it before we stepped into this arena. That's about capturing point of sale data, capturing exit reads, capturing inventory information, and combining that and highlighting when, where, and how theft is happening, and also be prepared to have countermeasures in place for that. And that works.
Yeah, and I think that by starting it, you put the spotlight on it that's not there yet. So you might uncover that is, so at, as you say, at some stores it might be even better than expected because nothing's happening, or it might be worse than expected, and then you're really glad that you're looking into it and that you started that the process.
So in this, with every implementation, you are changing. It seems like you're not doing a big thing. You're adding something to the site, and it's this self-checkout thing. But you have to be honest about it. It's a change process, and you're touching a lot of existing processes and ways of working. Those need to be changed. If you don't do that, you're gonna have maybe a happy consumer, but you're going to have maybe an unhappy store team, or you're going to have an unhappy loss prevention team, or you're going to have an unhappy retail operations team. So if you take them all into the first pilot, you're going to have too much stakeholders. You can't do anything. So you need to start small and experiment and learn fast. And once you've reached a certain maturity level, you bring on board the other stakeholders and convince them that also their concerns are taken care of and their needs are listened to. And also there, it's take an experienced team to do that. It's not something you want to completely invent on your own.
Great, cool. Well, very interesting topic, very passionate, and I think you can talk about it for hours. But thank you very much, Jeroen, for this first episode.
Well, Harmen, many thanks for having me, and really keen to continue the conversation once we've uncovered more news to share with the audience.
Exactly. That's at the 100th episode. We will look back. Cool.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.